Micronations. They are quite the peculiar little places, but in a very good way. The term micronation literally means small nation. It is a neologism originating in the mid-1970s to describe the many thousands of small, unrecognized state-like entities that have mostly arisen since that time. Imagine owning your own small piece of land with your own sets of rules, laws, and regulations. It does seem pretty nice now, doesn't it? We don't hear much about them, but they are out there. Thousands of them all across the globe. And a few hundred of them all across this great nation. But there is one in particular that stands out all above the rest. And that would be the Republic of Molossia. Founded by Kevin Baugh, it has been a childhood project of his since 1977 outside of Dayton, Nevada. During that time, he went on to establish many things from a space program to buying new territory and even staying active both on Twitter and YouTube. Hey, you gotta stay topical somehow. The word Molossia is derived from the Hawaiian word maluhia, which means peace, safety, and security. But it wasn't always like this for this great nation. What if I were to tell you that in the late spring of 2010, a group of individuals that no one would dare expect not only invaded this country, but conquered it as well? Shocking, isn't it? And no, I'm not talking about terrorists, insurgents, or tyrants for that matter. No. But another group of individuals who call themselves the Internet Critics. I'm some white guy in the suit standing behind a beautiful landscape, and this is the story of Kickassia. To understand what happened to this great nation's rise and fall to glory, we must actually go back into the past. And luckily, unfortunately for me, there are no record books of any kind, but there happens to be a DVD for sale at my local library. So, it's all good. A year before Kickassia, there was a truce that was forged amongst all the critics, both video and video gamers alike. It was a bloody civil war, one that was raged amongst themselves in an empty rec hall, which I assume that's how all Midwesterners fight their battles, in self-contained areas. Anywho, with the truce in play, the nostalgia critic learns about this nation and takes it upon himself to take this country over by knocking at the president's front door and making his big introduction to him.
Hello, I'm the nostalgia critic, online personality, and all-around spectacular guy. I'm fine. Anyway, I run a website that has all sorts of reviewers that come together and, well, review stuff. I don't like to brag, but we're pretty successful.
Well, the numbers really don't lie there. So after President Baugh slams the door on the critic's face, he heads back to command where he rallies the troops, calling them up and telling them all to meet him in a motel in Nevada. With many old and new faces gathering to aid Critic with the invasion, we get Nostalgia Chick, Phaelus, Linkara, Spoonie, Film Brain, Angry Joe, Cinema Snob, Handsome Tom, and 8-Bit Mickey, Lee Davidge, Benzai, Lord Cat, Bennett the Sage, Paul Dugan, Mars Girl, and Jew Wario. Whew! Still got it. The group questions the critics' reason as to why they should take over this small piece of land to begin with, so Critic decides to give them one hell of an inspirational speech.
Now let me tell you about a group of people that didn't give up. They were called Nazis. They had a crazy plan too. Everybody thought they were nuts. But you know what? They got pretty far, didn't they? Because they were dedicated. Yeah! And strong! Yeah! And don't you let anyone tell you that you can't do it. So what are you people? A Nazi? Or Nazi? Yeah!
What the fuck, man?
Yeah, you better be careful what you say, Critic, because you never know what kind of people might be watching your videos these days. After that motivational speech, Critic's army begins a slow stroll down the open road as they show off their badassery, charging at the president of Molossia as he stands idly by as the Critics make their initial head-on assault and... Oh, okay, so after that failed attempt, the gang decides to work on a new strategy which involves using weapons. Adoy! As everyone gets prepared for a second assault on the nation by arming up, gearing up, and drawing fake muscles on their body, there is one critic in particular named Spoonie who hesitates as the nostalgia critic tries to convince Spoonie to summon him.
But if you would only try. Try? There is no try. There is only the darkness.
Sometimes we all need to give in to the madness.
The next morning, President Bot is surprised to see the internet critics again as they are all well armed and the nostalgia critic taking the charge once more. After a ceremonial salute, they charge at the nation as President Ba activates his traps. And my god, it is truly a sight to behold. As they make their way across the minefield, they take damage from every which way, especially from President Ba's cannon, but they do manage to counter his attacks. However, they do come across a few more obstacles, one of which being... Fans! Hey, they can be quite intimidating. And the other one is, of course, getting around that treacherous Molossia Railroad.
It's just a toy train.
The critics see the president, and as they charge at him with full force, he decides to teleport back and forth, beating them up separately, until he goes toe-to-toe with Lee and decides to go all 3D and starts kicking the crap out of the president. President Ba retreats back into his house as the critics follow foot, and to their surprise, they are greeted by Fritz von Ba, who tells all of them that the president is long gone. And on that day, the Republic of Molossia was defeated, and a new kick-ass era for Kickassia begins. And it is truly a victory to be remembered, especially when Transmission Awesome reports on their victory the next day and the new tasks that await these critics, with each and every single one of them being assigned to various jobs throughout this new nation. The most important ones being the nostalgia chick acting as vice president,
You betcha.
and the nostalgia critic himself who takes charge as the president and tells the news that he plans on taking over the neighborhood one house at a time and eventually the world. Wait, did I get that last part right?
Naturally.
Ah, well then. Makes you wonder if he would actually accomplish this goal.
Eventually.
Ah, so you may be wondering if he has any backup plans in case everything goes south for him.
Of that question, you can definitely say yes.
Ah, thanks, critic. It's nice to be informed.
Of course.
God damn it, the fucking memes. Meanwhile, like every new country that is formed, there must also be some issues as their treasurer Cinema Snob informs Critic about the country's financial problems, but decides to ignore everyone as Fritz von Ba begins his little schemes as he tells Kickassia's key cabinet members to, perhaps, take over themselves. And as the rest of the gang trains outside, they stumble across a receipt for 20 tons of dynamite that was ordered by the nostalgia critic. Clearly, these are troubled times for this two-day-old nation. Meanwhile, as the nostalgic chick tries her best to kill the nostalgic critic by poisoning his tea and shooting him in the back, the rest of the gang goes back to their hotel room as they inform Cinema Snob about the receipt. The snob has his doubts as he thinks everyone is being manipulated by Fritz von Ba, just so he can get his micronation back. Which does seem pretty logical. After all, it's not like he would go that far into...
No, that part was true.
What?
Oh yeah, the whole place is wired.
You see, I've wanted this place for a long time.
And now that I got it,
I'm not gonna let anyone take it away from me.
Well then, I have been wrong before. So, as the gang concocts a plan to dethrone the critic, Filmbrain spies on the group and quickly informs his supreme overlord about this treachery, which results in the cinema snob to have a trial and to be exiled from Kickassia. Later that night, the nostalgia critic goes back to his room as he notices everything being set up like his old review room. But who would do such an odd thing, you may ask?
I thought you would like it this way.
Mati.
That is right. It is Mati from Captain Planet. The reason he did this is because he warns the critic that if he continues down this road of selfishness, inflated ego, and douchebaggery, that everyone will eventually turn on him. He ignores this, of course, and everyone heads back to the hotel to devise another plan of attack. Angry Joe believes that the best way to take down an overlord like the nostalgia critic is to throw a wild card into the mix, and that is where Spoonie comes back into the picture.
Sometimes the best way to deal with a madman is to send in another madman.
That's a stupid plan!
Exactly! A stupid plan for a stupid man.
Are you high?
Spoonie hesitates about the idea, but decides to go with it as he now undergoes a transformation, one of which they haven't seen in a long while. And this is where I introduce to you Dr. Insano, one of the Reviewerverse's original bad guys and a very certifiable nutjob. And with that said, the nutjob charges head-on, attacking the nostalgia critic as he defends himself by any means necessary. Despite the madman's best efforts with his flurry of slender fists, the nostalgia critic gets his second wind in as he delivers Dr. Insano a super effective thundershock, and believes enough is enough and decides to pull a gun on him. Linkara and Banzai try to stop the critic from killing Spoonie, but it would appear that it may be too little too late. My God! Nostalgia critic has gone mad. If only there was some form of higher power to stop all of this. Some form of...
Help me! Santa Christ!
Santa Christ! Santa Christ! We all love
I can't believe that just fucking happened.
Well, so much for his help. Everything is put on hold for the moment as the nostalgia critic is sad that he killed everyone's most beloved seasonal icon, but with the power of belief, they are all joined together in hopes of resurrecting Santa Christ, as well as getting help from all of the other internet critic cameos who were relevant back in 2010. But it doesn't seem to be working, and decide to dump his body behind the hotel dumpster. Smooth, guys. Real smooth. So they all fall back on Linkara as he devises a new plan to take down the critic once and for all. After another obligatory cameo from a far bigger internet critic, and Filmbrain now joining their rebellious squad, their plan is underway as the nostalgia critic is ambushed outside by his former teammates. He gets invaded in every which way, which forces him to retreat indoors. However, that doesn't work too well for him, as Critic gets treated with a multitude of colorful beatings and is defeated. As everyone fights each other to see who should lead this country now, Santa Christ returns.
Christ! We all love Santa Christ!
Santa Christ? I don't understand that reference.
He teaches everyone a valuable lesson that these internet critics were all happy just the way they were, making cheap shows for everyone to watch and enjoy. They all agree on that and decide to return things to the way they were by giving President Ba his nation back and all of them returning home. This may have been the end for this short-lived nation, but out of their conflict, they have learned a lot of things in the process as well. For one thing, you may never truly have it all if you're going to have conspirators, traitors, and co-conspirators within your nation. And being a selfish prick may not work out too well if you're running a country either. I don't want to say that this is the end of this saga, but actually a new beginning. Kickassia was only the beginning for these internet critics, as they would go on to have numerous adventures full of excitement and peril. Not to mention dealing with unspeakable forces from beyond, to handling the loss of their most beloved friends both in their world and in the real world as well. But of course those stories will have to wait for another time. Now if you'll excuse me, I got my own journey to work on. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time. So, this is where my other counterpart lives. What a fucking dump. Hey boss, it's Mag Sano. I'm inside.
Do you have your equipment?
Yes, I got the tools. You know, I do have to say, you ain't kidding how much he really hates you. I see mystical wards all over this shit, according to my sensor.
Shut up and do your job.
Yeah, of course. Now, what does this thing look... Oh, I see it now. Yeah.
Make sure you put everything back the way it was.
Yeah, of course. I got it.
Good. Return to base at once.
I got you, boss. Over and out.